Well, hello. Welcome to my show. I am Susan Mintz, and you are in Positively Positive. This show is going to involve everything HIV, anything HIV. That is the common thread. Every show, there will be one guest and a 45-minute amount of time to interview them, and you are going to have an incredible array of people. Some people might be newly infected, long-term survivors. Some might be healthcare organization people. Some might be volunteers. We might have a pastor, a dentist, a doctor, anything. If there is a field out there and someone's in it, you will be at some point on Positively Positive. And that's how it'll be. You may want to get Kleenex. You may want to get popcorn. You may want to get the dog. Whatever you want to do, and you are going to want to hunker down and listen to the most amazing stories about courageous, amazing people who have given some way or had somehow HIV has come into their life. And that's what's so amazing. We are going to be a total show on HIV. And it's been in the works for 20 years for me. And because of Richardo Jackson and Campbell Health Solutions, he saw the vision. He saw where this could go. And he said, let's do it. So you're going to hear amazing guests, amazing stories. And there's nothing else like this being done because we are going to keep HIV out there in the spotlight. So let me take the incredible glasses off and show you what makeup is about. I'm going to get my business out of the way first before we bring our amazing guest on, because then we'll have the whole time with him. My book, when my husband, Dr. Jeffrey Mintz, passed away in 1994 from AIDS-related pneumonia, I documented his entire illness, which is why I encourage writing so much. If there's anything you want to do, take notes tonight. Write some little nuggets of things down tonight. That's what I'm going to be doing on my guests, because I'm going to highlight in a book eventually all the different nuggets and the pieces of what he is about and what his story was about. These stories will capture you. My book, I documented, as I said, his illness from 1992 to 94. He was my best friend. He was my husband, a bisexual man who was very promiscuous at a time when he shouldn't have been. Years later, after his death, because I documented my journey, I put it into my book, Committed to Love. And there's another book I wrote right afterwards called And I Held Their Hands with a Hospice Heart. Both books are companion books. If you want to know about me, you may go to susanmintz.com. Everything you want to know is there. The books icon, about me, all of that. My email is smintz7179. I am on YouTube, Facebook, and my website. And I may not know my passwords, but thank God for great funds. So that is it. You can check me out, and this is going to be my show, and it's Positively Positive. And no matter what subject the person brings to the table, you will get something out of it where you will relate. You will relate to that person because we are connected. The one big word on my last thing is you're hearing the word divided all over the place in every venue. This is not a divided. People don't understand that HIV is not a divider. HIV is a uniter because it never cared about the color or your demographics or your political affiliation or your religious preference. Or yes, there might be certain groups who are still more prone, but HIV is real. It is here. And if you allow it in, yes, thank God for the medications, but it is a uniter. I think HIV could unite our country at a time when we could use that. So that's me, Susan Mintz, Committed to Love. And I am going to now introduce my amazing guest and friend, Kenny Talbot. and he's going to tell you his story. Kenny? Hello, my friend.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm great. I'm just going to read your bio, which would take us into next week if I continue to read everything you've done with your amazing life. Kenny is a friend, though we've only known each other about 6 months. Sometimes the spirit meets in the heart, and you don't need to have a lot of time. You can know someone for 20 years and not know them. When I met him through a friend, it was an amazing opportunity for me to get to know someone. Kenny is bold, outspoken, but what you see is what you get. He is an amazing person with an amazing story. He has been a long term survivor and been HIV positive for 23 years. He moved to Palm Beach County in 2009 and joined the HIV Care Council of Palm Beach County. And Palm Beach County is so far ahead of others when it comes to this. So he's been with there for 14 years. He was active with the council, but mostly it was as an activist, helping people to get care and openly being compassionate about helping people find their needs. In 2019, he became more proactive, took a more important and vital role in the Care Council, was made chairman of the vice chair of the Appropriations and Allocations Committee. We all know what that means when you say priorities and allocations. Money. And there couldn't be a better person who could have done that. But then he became the chair, the treasurer, and now he is the chairman of the council. The other thing I want to say is that for the last 2 Januaries, Kenny has gone to Washington, D.C. to the HIV/AIDS U.S. conference or the U.S. conference on HIV and AIDS and be an active and vocal participant. So what he said to me was, he says, you never know what life holds in store for you. You never know what life holds in store for you, Kenny Talbot. And if that's not enough, his activity in Palm Beach County and beyond, he wants to become a national spokesperson and travel around promoting HIV awareness, testing, and health. And he's also been a wallpaper hanger for 40 years, a professional wallpaper hanger. That is on top of that's a cherry on top of the cake. So I am going to introduce you and say hello, my friend. How, when, where, why, how did you get involved and become positive in 2001?
Actually, I don't know where I got it from, to be honest with you. Uh, there's a possibility, and I don't know for sure. There was a doctor in Vegas where I was living at the time that was doing colonoscopies and endoscopies and not properly sterilizing the equipment. So at that time, they were saying up to 50 to 60,000 people were either could have possibly been exposed to hepatitis or HIV or whatever other transmittable diseases that would have happened like that.
Yeah.
They were having people flock into attorneys' offices, and people were meeting in conference rooms like 10, 12, 20 people at a time because so many people had been exposed. So that's one possibility. The other possibility is, yes, being gay. So I don't really know.
Did you know any people then also who were within your spectrum of people you knew who became positive due to that type of circumstance?
No, I didn't know anybody. Like in the process, when I went to um, the attorney, there was a girl in there, and I still can hear her crying that she got hepatitis, and she was saying that it was pretty severe, and that she didn't even know if she was going to live long enough to see her children grow up. And at that time, I think she was saying they were like 2, 3, or 4, something like that. They were really very young. And she was young.
And how this has been 23 years now. How did you accept your diagnosis? How did you feel at that time? And what specifically, were you angry? Were you sad? Were you upset? Tell me your emotional state when you found out.
So I was living in Portland, Oregon at the time, and I had a partner at that time, and I knew he had HIV. We were very safe, but so he was at the clinic one day, and I said, "I'm just going to go get another floor, get tested, just for the heck of it." So um, then I can't remember, probably about a week or so later, we had all of his family over. I think we were having Thanksgiving, or I can't remember what we were doing. We were having a dinner, and so I get a phone call, and it's from the clinic. The girl says, "Hello, my name is so and so," and I don't remember it anymore. But she says, "I got the results of your test." She says, "I can tell you over the phone, or I can have you come in. It's really up to you. Decide what you want to do." I says, "You could just tell me over the phone. I'm fine with that." She says, "Are you sure?" When she said that, I knew what she was going to tell me. I said, "Yes, I'm sure. You can tell me." She says, "Well, I'm sorry to say that it came back. You're positive. Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay." "Why wouldn't I be okay?" "Do you want to hurt yourself?" "Why would I want to hurt myself? You don't want to kill yourself or anything?" Can you?
Or
No, 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 no. I said, "Let me tell you." I said, "I've had other medical problems over the years." I said, "To me, in my mind right now, it's just going, oh, well, it's just one more thing I have to take care of, you know?"
no,
So no, I didn't get upset. I didn't break down or anything like that.
see, that's the way the show is called Positively Positive, because everyone is going to have something in common, which will be HIV. What we're going to have is different people on who will talk about it. And from your perspective, what did you do once you found out, though? Did you start on any medication? Because it's still early on in 1991. It was still very early on with HIV. My husband passed in 94, and he didn't have any of the resources that you have either then or now. So, what did you start on, and how did this
So
evolve with?
the process at that time, the thinking was you don't go on meds until your counts get down to 350. And so I wasn't on meds for quite a few years before. And the first medication that I went on was a tripula. And I was on that medication for a long time. I can't even tell you how many years, but years. As a result of that medication, I have some problems that come up from that. Um, I really can't talk much about that right now, but there was complications because of it.
And
Um, Go ahead.
but how have you felt through your 23-year process? Because I know you've been so proactive, you've mentored, you've encouraged, you've been an activist. But how did you progress with this, as far as your doctor, new meds that came out, new things? And did you have a support group, family help? How did that part of your equation come in?
Um, in the early years, no, I really didn't have anybody like that. And I really wasn't seeking that because I was working, and so my life just centered around a lot of work and stuff. So I didn't really have time for it. Although, like in Vegas, I moved back to Vegas. I moved to Portland. I moved back to Vegas. So when I got back to Vegas, um, I just went back to working and doing wallpaper there.
And how have you felt though up until even now? Because you look incredible, and I know you personally have tremendous energy. But how did you, for the last couple of, did you take more tests? Did you continue to stay with the same doc when you moved? How'd you find your doctor, and how did you do and more testing regularly? How did that work also when you went to
Oh, let me
Vegas?
tell you, I all through the time of my medical care, I have always sought out the best doctor. So when I was in Portland, I had one of the best doctors, and he was known also around the nation. When I moved to Vegas, I had the doctor that was the best, and at one point, the I think that doctor, they had him doing stuff like for Washington D.C. with HIV and stuff. And then the doctor that I have here currently is probably the best infectious disease doctor in Palm Beach County.
Great. So you've had great assistance through medical help. And how has it been since you moved to Palm Beach County in 2009? You have, of course, gotten involved with the HIV Care Council, but have you incorporated, have you with a group of friends, a support system? How do you feel now as far as where you've come as to where you are with the Palm Beach County Care Council, yourself as an individual, having grown 23 years through this? Where are you in this, and how do you feel about other people and giving them encouragement to go on?
So since I've been back, I got back in 2009, got
Right.
here. Um, I should back up and say that I grew up here. I wasn't born here, but I grew up here and I moved away. I was gone for 16 years and then I moved back. So when I got back, I don't know, it just like thought came to me to start looking for HIV type support or whatever groups. And then I discovered the Palm Beach County HIV Care Council. I became a member back then for 3 years. And while I was a member for 3 years, I was helping people, taking some people that I know to the doctors and stuff. And somebody made a comment, oh, you're using the care council as leverage for getting people care. And like I was a little bit worried that somebody that I could get in trouble or get fined. So I quit. But I always stayed in the background knowing what was going on, like you said, into 2019. But during those years, I helped people get into care. I had a friend that had cancer. I was going to chemotherapy with him. Uh, so it's like a lot of things that I really didn't tell a lot of people what I did. But all during this time, I also had my parents here, and they're elderly, and they were going through a lot of medical problems too. So
Mhm.
being an activist, it was like helping them, helping my friends. And it's like I really have gained a lot of knowledge about medical, not just with them, but with myself. So I had my mom in emergency room one time, and I was telling the nurse my mom's problems because she wasn't feeling well to talk. And the nurse stopped me. She said, "Excuse me, can I ask you a question?" I said, "Yes." "Are you a medical professional?" "No." "Why?" I kind of like you did. I kind of chuckled. No, no. Why do you ask that? She said, "Because it feels like one of us nurses handing off a patient to another nurse. Like you're talking medical terms and everything. And, and it's like, I didn't know I was that knowledgeable. I didn't feel it. I mean, yeah, because I been through so much with everybody and everything.
So
And
you would, so all through your journey, and I'd like to say it's been your journey because we're all on a journey. Nothing
right.
can stop that. I mean, till from birth into death, it's just one big chapter in a book. So, in other words, you feel that you have handled your HIV diagnosis very well.
Oh yeah. I
And
am
what would
like
you go?
I'm like the case manager's best client because I even try to educate other people under case management. I say, email your bills, do this, do this, do this, and it's like now they have me on an advisory board. I'm on an advisory board for a case management company here.
Right.
Um, like you said, I'm into talks with somebody about possibly going national. Uh,
Mm.
that prospect seems like it's going to probably, it's either going to jump like fire and go fast or within the next few months. But still, that's
Well, with
fast.
yeah, with your experience and your knowledge and the way you are comfortable with you, and I think when you have an HIV diagnosis or any diagnosis, it could be any diagnosis when it certainly could be a life-threatening or long-term illness. I think you have to at some point resolve yourself and come to the realization that to be negative and mentally negative, to hibernate, to pretend it doesn't exist doesn't make it go away. So it's best that you find support, find it, and be able to have that group of people around you who understands and to be able to talk it out. My issue is to write. Did you ever write any of this down in a journal?
No, I never wrote journals. No.
Okay, because that's where I always encourage people. I would say tonight, you're going to learn a lot about this man, and you are going to perhaps find some nugget, some area, some part of his story you will relate to. And that's where I'm coming from with our shows like that is we want you to focus in on the person, get out of them what you need perhaps to become better in your life and be able to have that positively positive attitude. Because Kenny is an example of being positively positive. What would you say, Kenny, as far as in the last 23 years, the medications, how far they have come?
Oh my gosh. Great, great, great progress. Um, and I will even say that going from being on years ago, they had the medication. What was it? One it was um, AZT.
ACT
Okay, it was killing people. That was poison. That was poison.
was.
That killed people. Not HIV. That killed people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they didn't know that then, but they know it now. Okay, so then, like I said, I was on a tripula. I from a tripula, I went to a drug called Centuza, and then I had was
Mm-hmm.
hearing word that there was going to be come an injectable out there. So it's kind of like I told my doctor, it says when that injectable comes, I want it. I don't want to take the pills anymore. So finally, it released, and I've been on it now for like 2 years. It's called Cabenuva. So it's two injections every 2 months.
That's
Uh,
great.
I love
How,
it.
how does someone? Because even when I met you, you're healthy and you have a great attitude and you're just like active in everything. And as I said, when we connected, it was just an amazing connection, and you had so much information to share. But now I want to know though, if you had some pointers to give someone who's, let's say, newly diagnosed, and we'll be having people on the show, as I said, in every spectrum, every venue, every compartment that there is to have somebody in. What would you suggest to someone then who's newly infected, what they can do? Because it's still here, it's not going away, and everybody is still susceptible, even with great medications to keep you from getting undetectable, untransmissible. But what would you suggest to someone who finds out? I mean, it's also when you find out in your 40s as opposed to you find out as a teenager. What do you say
Yeah.
is an important thing that they must know, no matter what their age, and how to get through this with a positive attitude? Because many people won't.
The first thing that I tell them, and because it was told to me, is you're not going to die. Because when I first found out, I went to my doctor and I told him, I says, I have a question for you. I don't want you to beat around the bush. I want you to tell me straight out. I said, I'm going to ask you, how long do I have to live? He says, if you asked me today, I'm going to tell you 30 years because of the medications. If you ask me tomorrow, I'm going to tell you I don't know because of the progress that's going to come and be made. And then he said, let me tell you a story about myself. He says, the reason why I became a doctor is because my lover of 16 years died of AIDS. That's one thing. And I'm going to tell you something else. He said, if you take the meds, when it comes to that point, because back then, like I said, it wasn't that way, then you're going to be okay. The other thing is, if you were a diabetic has to test their sugars, has to make sure they eat properly, not eat this. And with HIV, you don't have to do that or anything. It has nothing to, I mean, yeah, you should eat right. I mean, anybody should eat right about anything. But it was more about just taking the medication, you know.
Hmm.
So,
But
I,
but don't you think your attitude has a
oh, yeah.
lot to do with it?
Well, okay. So I was going to let you know, tell you something about too. So during the course of me being open and trying to help people, whatever, I've had people come to me and they say, "Can I talk to you privately?" And I know what they want to talk to me about.
Yeah.
So I said, "Sure." So we go off and talk privately, and that's the first thing I tell them: "You're not going to die. Take your medication. You'll be okay. Don't even worry about it. You're not going to have to worry about it." I says, if you were a diabetic, then I tell them about the diabetic story. And, you know, they at first they wanted to cry, but after I told them what I told them, it's like you see a change in their face because what the community put out there for years ago, years that you're going to die, a lot of people still believed it. We still have people today that don't even understand what undetectable equals untransmittable. I am educating people frequently on that. They
Yeah.
have no clue. The commercials are on TV. It's all over the place. They're not
Do
listening to
you
the
do
commercials.
do you think we're almost bombarded too much with information, but it's not also is the the appropriate information, and people are searching for everything they can and not maybe going to a really reliable source or getting involved with people who really do know what they're talking about?
I don't really know how to answer that question. I just think that unless you're in it, you're not going to find
Yeah.
out about
Yeah, you have to be in it. But when Jeffrey was diagnosed with his pneumonia, he was gravely ill already, and this was in the early '90s, and they didn't have anything. They loaded him up with AZT, and it just wasn't going to work for him. And I don't even know if he could have lived if he had the right drugs, because he wasn't of the type who would have gotten tested regularly, would have gone and he would never have lived that way. as I said, when he passed the baton on to me, and I became an activist in this because I know it exists. So with you being a mentor, where do you think your strong suit is where you are right now and where you've come from? What even then in the 23 years, what is your strong suit besides being a positive personality and a proactive personality with your health? What would you say is your strongest suit and what you bring to other people?
I think that some of my strongest suit is that I'm open about it. And as I'm helping other people, really, I'm helping myself. There was a thought I had in the beginning is,
Yeah.
okay, HIV, you got me, but you picked the wrong person because I'm going to use it against you. And that is another reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's my way of stabbing back at HIV. It's like you didn't win. You did not win. So that's
So,
that's something I really not told too many people, but that is a lot of why, because it's I'm going to win. I'm winning. You know,
and the other thing that involves HIV to this day is the stigma. Did you come across people who, once they knew you were positive, did they come against you in any way, drop you? How's your family react?
my family, believe it or not, I, is who I had the least problem with. Um,
That's wonderful.
I'm going to say the worst people are the people in our own HIV gay, no, not HIV, in our own gay community. The gay community, they kill their own. They'll kill their own. It's you know you know they they should know the most, but some of them are the most ignorant as far
So
as HIV.
do you think it's a fear that a lot of it has to do with fear? So they go into more of a denial mode?
Okay, my first thought when you asked that question, no, I think it's stupidity. Like you said, I'm vocal.
Why?
I'll say it straight up. I think it's just pure stupidity. You know,
And why would people want to be that way when there's so much information? There are support groups, there are people like yourself, and especially Palm Beach County is so far ahead of other places in this country. I am so proud to be a part of the Care Council, though I'm not an official member, but to see a group so active and so from all different facets, whether it's all these organizations, volunteers, people who are HIV positive, it's marvelous. So for people to be ignorant, it's their own choice. And maybe I really think some of it's anger. I think a lot of fear and a lot of anger comes out of these issues. They're angry and they don't know how to take it out positively, or they've been hurt.
I really don't know. But just to back up a little bit, it's gay people. They act like they're so want to be accepted, and out there fighting for gay rights and stuff. But yet, when it really gets down to it, there's a
Sure.
lot of people don't accept people who are HIV positive. There's a lot of rejection, a lot of rejection, and and you were talking about stigma. You,
I found
yeah,
out with people as I've gone through the, the stigma. Talk to me, tell me about the stigma that you know people experience yet.
it's like I've had taken some of my friends to doctors. Even some of the stigma that doctors do. It comes from all aspects when you're HIV. Uh, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you, like if you know, you, I didn't say this. My mom. Okay, one time I cut myself and I was bleeding. Not bad, but anytime, like even doing wallpaper, let me tell you, doing wallpaper, you're gonna get a cut. So
That's
this is
funny.
I kind of laugh at myself for this. So when I used to get a cut, you wouldn't have seen somebody run and disappear so fast just because I didn't want
Um,
nobody to see that I had blood. They didn't know I was HIV positive, but I didn't want them to see their blood. See,
yeah.
I was self stigmatizing myself, and we do
Uh,
that, you know.
oh,
So
yes.
I just
We're
laughed
our
at
worst.
myself. I used to do that.
Yeah. Many. Go ahead. I'm sorry. There's a little delay.
Yeah, there was a delay. I
You
didn't hear
say
what you
we
said.
were. I think we're our own worst enemy.
Oh yes,
Wouldn't you say that? That many times we are our own worst enemies.
yeah. There's a thought
Hard
that
on.
that also goes
Never
through
beat
my mind.
yourself up.
Nobody, nobody will ever understand the thoughts that go on in the individual's head sitting next to you, whether you've known them all your life or whether you have a connection. Because we all have our own thoughts in our heads about things. You know, we beat ourselves up, we lift ourselves up. You know,
Right. You are the perfect example of why I wanted to do a show like this, one on one, and talk about people who are HIV positive in some way, or if they're not, they are intertwined. As I said, whether it's a volunteer, an organization, a dentist, but that's a big part of it. We are all connected in this, but your attitude, positively positive. When someone is negative, you breathe that negativity into yourself. You speak that negativity into yourself. Now, at first, you didn't get upset. Now, that's remarkable because I would think most people would probably be in shock, would be upset. And she asked you that one time, and I said, do you want to hurt yourself? And you said, no, why would I want to hurt myself? That's wonderful. But I think you are more in the minority than the majority of people who get an HIV positive diagnosis.
yeah, I don't know anybody else that took it like I did. The majority, like you said, are devastated. Devastated. You know, I've helped people when they cried because they were HIV positive. You know, yeah, more of them are devastated. You know, again, like I said, we stigmatize ourselves, and that's initially what a lot of them are doing, and it's to an extreme. But
Oh,
I've always
uh-huh.
tried to
And
bring the light to it.
so in the future, you see yourself as someone who would like to be more on the national level, encouraging, motivating, mentoring, and being able to tell your story and speak about how your attitude also helps you get through. So you see yourself in the future as a very positive force, getting HIV back into the spotlight, back into the media. And this program is going to start doing that. That was a big part of it when we started it. Let's talk about HIV in a way that's not being talked about. One on one with people who are going through it. What's their story? What do you have to contribute? How did you feel? Did you? That's very, very important. So I would like to say I am so thankful for you because of your attitude and how we met. But at a national level, what would you like to be able to say? and speak, taking it 23 years later into a more broad, broad spectrum of people.
I've I've done so well in um, taking care of my health and stuff. Um, I wasn't going to say this on the show, but I'll say it because it will help people to understand.
And it's only
I
between you and me.
well, people will hear it. So I've been operated on or had procedures where I might have been under anesthesia or something like over 60 times. And
Wow.
some of the stuff that I've had done, for example, my neck is fused. How'd you get through all the pain? I'm one that the doctors say I do really well, but they also try to tell me, don't do this, don't do this. And I tell them, I'm going to do what my body tells me I can do.
You do.
And if I can move my head more, even well, I shouldn't, my body's saying it's okay. I'm not having pain, I'm going to move it, you know. And I've gotten through quite a few things faster and recovered much better than they ever expected. My pain tolerance, I don't know that my brain comprehends pain the way some people do because I think I can tolerate quite a bit and I don't like taking the pain pills and I get off them fast as possible. So, like you said, with me, there is a lot of attitude in the way that I think that I recover and stuff. And I think that saying like in my early days when I first found out, it's like, oh well, it's just one more thing I have to deal with,
Yeah.
you know, and
And
then you
did
deal.
you have other? Did you have? I think we went said this before, but did you have other friends that you knew became positive, or were you in an area where there weren't many?
Um, at the time, there was friends that were positive, and some of them didn't talk about it. They didn't want to talk about it. Um, I've had some really, really close friends pass away from it. Um, and like one that I'm thinking about right now, when he found out, he just became a recluse. Nobody's seen
Mm,
him or heard. He didn't even talk to
yeah,
anybody. It's like we didn't know anything until after he died.
right. Well,
So
I know one thing that you will definitely, no matter where you speak, no matter where you are, or wherever God and life takes you, you are a positive force, and you have certainly made a difference in many people's lives over the years. And right here, even in Palm Beach County, when I met you, I knew right off the bat that you were a force that no one was going to take out. When the time was right, you'd be taken out. But until then, you were a fighter. You're an activist. You're an advocate. You're someone who will tell someone, don't you give up. Don't you give in. Go for it and love life as best you can. Do everything you can to stay healthy, but keep a positively positive attitude.
you know,
That way you would
I'm not. I'm not going to go out fighting. I'm going to go out fighting. A few couple years ago, I was having chest pains, angina, and I went to the emergency room. And a couple days later, they put me in for catheterization because they couldn't find anything before till they did that. And the first words out of the doctor's mouth is, "You're critical. You have a 99% blockage of the widowmaker, the main artery." So he put the stent in. Oh, the blood's flowing. Okay, I'm all better. You know,
That's Let's go play
literally,
tennis.
yeah. I could have went out and did anything, you know, but
But do you also believe that you can get stronger in life the more adversities you can go through, and it's a choice?
I did it when I was younger. I've pretty much I've been like that all my life. You know,
That's
I've
wonderful.
there's a lot of things that I've dealt with as a child and stuff, and uh, I've always been like determined. You know, you aren't going to win over me.
Was there any one person, or would you say, though, on this journey that there was any one person who really mentored you and not just encouraged you, but guided you along the way? Was there a singular person, or was it just the journey itself?
The first person that came to my mind when you said that was my HIV doctor that I had when I was in Vegas. That's, because he's like me. He didn't pull no punches. And with me, I love that. I want you to tell me straight. I don't want you to beat around the bush. I
Right.
respect that. And so that's how he was. And so that's the first person that came to my mind when you asked that question.
And how do you feel about people getting tested now, which is so easy and the medications are so helpful? Do you encourage people to get tested immediately if they think that they are exposed?
I'd encourage them to get tested even if they don't think they did anything to get exposed. I've told my parents,
Regular,
I said, they should get tested. I told them everybody in the world should get tested.
regularly.
Yeah.
How about how about as part of a yearly physical to include that with your labs? I've been into that for years. Why not have that as part of your
Definitely.
laboratory work? It's still confidential and private, right? That's a joke in itself, but it's still there. I always thought it would be wonderful to have an HIV test when you have your blood work.
If you had a blood transfusion ever, you should be tested
Hmm.
regularly. Not, well, I don't think
Yeah,
the risk is as bad as it used to be. Like it's gone way down as far as that goes. But in the past, if you've had a blood transfusion, I've known people that had blood transfusions that got HIV.
yes, I
That's
have
how.
a couple of guests that are going to be on in the next shows, because we're going to be doing a lot of different shows. And then one of the shows, in fact, a couple of them, that's exactly still what happened. They became HIV positive through transfusions. You don't hear about that much anymore, but I do know some long-term survivors, and that's happened.
Are they gay?
So I think test.
No.
No, no, not at all.
See,
One woman is definitely not gay, and the other one, I don't know. It's not a man. These are women, and they got it through transfusions when they were gravely ill with something else.
see, and
It's
people
not
would
just the
judge them
what.
even just even if they thought they had HIV. They would
Of
judge
course, that's
those
what we're going to
ladies.
do, and that's what this program is all about. We are going to remove that stigma by having real people talk about real issues, their life, how, when, where, why. I want our viewers to get the personals of this. And in every interview like yours, they're going to take away something that they're going to relate to. And that's what's so very important. I want to see HIV talked about again everywhere. And you're helping by being an advocate, by being out there and talking about it, and by telling your story to all the people that are going to be listening and all the people in the future. But I would say your strongest suit is you are a fighter.
I I can tell you of an incident where somebody was being so cruel And I'll just have to tell you a story. Okay, so me and my friends used to go out to this club for happy hour frequently. And so one of the people that, like I told you, that came to me and told me they just found out they were positive. So
Yeah.
he's sitting talking to this other guy at the place. And the guy says to him, "Stay away from Kenny. He's dangerous." So my friend tells me this, and the guy doesn't even know my friend had HIV.
Or you're cutting in and out now.
Do I want me to tell you again? Should I tell the story again? Can you hear me?
Yes, but you're kind of cutting in and out. So I can hear you, but every once in a while you're freezing.
Okay. So, like I said, I was out
Let's try to.
at you're cutting in and out too.
Okay. Well, we've been really good so far. But that's what I'm so glad that I had you on because I want people to feel motivated. I could have hidden, took ill. I could have hidden also and gotten angry, or I didn't. I wrote my book, and I realized that the Lord gave me a mission and a commission, and that was to speak about HIV. And then this show came along, all these years later, and it was a breath of fresh air because I'm doing what I do best. I'm with people, interviewing them, talking to them, and finding out what makes Kenny Talbot tick, what's going to make our other guests tick. What are you doing? You're involved with the Care Council. How are you feeling? You're feeling great. How do you handle your life? You're wonderful. You're handling your life so effectively. Would you say that sums Kenny Talbot up?
Pretty much. But I think that
Wonderful.
you said it sort of in the beginning that I'm bold if it comes to especially medical aspects and knowing that I can help somebody, whether it be my parents, whether it be my friend taking him to chemotherapy, whether it be whatever. No, I don't have a problem talking to doctors, and I will stand up to them and tell them if I see something wrong. I will stand up to the hospital. I will stand up to the hospital people and tell them when I see something wrong.
Yeah, I'd like to be there when you do that. I think it'd be wonderfully. I would probably just put on the rings, put on the gloves, and go, take it away, Kenny. Have fun. Tell them where they belong. Tell them what they are. It was a blessing to meet you and to be able to call you my friend in just such a short period of time. I don't know if we're getting ready to wrap up. I'm not sure, but Ricardo will let us know. I want to personally thank Ricardo Jackson for allowing me and seeing the vision wrap up. Yay! And I lost us. Excellent. It's time to wrap up.
do do do.